If you're an older man who still masturbates, and let's be clear, many men do, I urge you to stay with me through the entirety of this message, because chances are, no one has ever told you the full truth. Not your physician, not your peers, and perhaps not even your former self. So let's begin with the question that's rarely discussed out loud, yet quietly occupies the minds of millions every day. Is masturbation at your age still healthy, or is it doing silent harm? Maybe you've felt it, that odd tension or aching sensation in the lower pelvis after a solo session. Perhaps you've noticed diminished erectile firmness or moments of reduced sensitivity. And then, at some point, an unsettling question starts to surface. Is this affecting my prostate? What impact is it having on my hormones, my cardiovascular system? You might dismiss it, but the question never truly disappears. Why? Because despite how common the act is, and how natural it is to desire touch and release, it's still cloaked in taboo, especially for men entering their 60s, 70s, and beyond. Let's face it, most of us didn't receive comprehensive, accurate sex education. And when it came to self-pleasure, the messages were usually primitive and punitive. Don't do it. Religious dogma, cultural shame, misinformation, these formed a wall of silence around an act that should never have carried so much guilt. Now, decades later, here we are. Our bodies have aged, our hormones have evolved, and we're left navigating unfamiliar territory with no map in sight. Some voices suggest that masturbation protects the prostate. Others claim it drains your vitality. Some insist it keeps libido alive. Others tell you it's desensitizing. So who's right? Here's the crucial fact that almost no one ever addresses. Most men don't actually know if masturbation is helping or harming them. Why? Because they've never received mature, medicine-based insight. Yet behind all the confusion, buried beneath the cultural noise, is something truly remarkable. A staggering number. Over 60% of men over age 60 continue to masturbate on a regular basis, but only a fraction understand how that affects their health, physically, hormonally, neurologically, emotionally. They worry about their prostate, about their testosterone, about days they feel energized after climax, and other days they feel oddly depleted. But despite this internal questioning, most healthcare providers avoid the topic unless you bring it up first. And even then, their responses are often vague and non-committal. It's time to clear the fog. Let's be very clear. This conversation is not about shame. It's not about judgment. It's not even about what's right or wrong. This is about insight, understanding, evidence-based self-care. Masturbation is not inherently harmful, nor inherently healing. It's a tool. And like every tool in medicine, whether it aids or injures depends entirely on how it's used. So imagine this. A man in his mid-60s. He lives alone, he's divorced, or widowed, or simply uninterested in a partner, but he still feels desire, still needs release, still seeks pleasure, yet no one has told him that his body, internally and externally, is not the same as it was at 25. Nobody warned him about pelvic floor weakening, about how posture during solo activity can affect nerve function, about how stimulation patterns may unintentionally condition the brain and body for dysfunction rather than pleasure. So, he does what he's always done. Same rhythm, same grip, same timing, same chair, same screen, and then one day, there's numbness, pelvic discomfort, trouble achieving climax. Is something broken? Has he lost his capacity for connection forever? Suddenly, something once automatic becomes a source of anxiety. Let me assure you, that fear is valid, but so is the opportunity for empowerment. Because today, we know better. We finally have rigorous studies, real science, peer-reviewed findings, not just anecdotes. Institutions like Harvard Medical School, the Mayo Clinic, and international research teams have provided us with a more complete understanding. This is not locker room chatter or internet folklore. This is data-driven sexual health. Let's begin with one of the most eye-opening pieces of research. In 2016, a team from the Harvard T.H. Chan School of Public Health published a longitudinal study involving over 30,000 men observed across 18 years. Their aim? To determine whether ejaculation frequency influenced prostate health. And the results? Astonishing. Men who ejaculated at least 21 times per month had a 33% reduction in their risk of developing prostate cancer, compared to those who ejaculated 4 to 7 times per month. Let that resonate. One of the most common cancers in older men, reduced, not by medication or surgery, but by something completely natural. Why would this be the case? Let's look at the anatomy. The prostate is a gland responsible for producing seminal fluid. Over time, if it's not regularly emptied, waste materials and inflammatory agents can build up. Think of this like a coffee machine that's never cleaned. Sediment forms. The ducts clog. Eventually, things malfunction. Ejaculation acts as a physiological flush. It reduces inflammation, encourages circulation, and may help prevent cellular stress within the prostate tissue. But that's not all. The orgasm itself, regardless of whether it comes from partnered or solo sex, unleashes a cascade of neuroendocrine benefits. Dopamine rises, oxytocin floods the system, cortisol, your principal stress hormone, plummets. That matters because cortisol isn't just associated with anxiety. Chronically elevated cortisol is directly tied to hypertension, immune suppression, impaired cognition, fatigue, and even testosterone suppression. So what we're discussing here isn't theory, it's proven biochemistry. This allows for a deeper truth to emerge. Masturbation, when done consciously and thoughtfully, can create a cascade of hormonal and cardiovascular regulation. Let's keep going. The Mayo Clinic has confirmed that orgasm improves immune response through elevated immunoglobulin levels. The Journal of Urology has shown reductions in pro-inflammatory markers with regular ejaculation. Neuroscientists from the Netherlands have demonstrated that climax elevates serotonin levels, critical for mood stability. Still think this is just about sex? Let's keep expanding the lens. During climax, the pelvic floor muscles contract rhythmically. These aren't trivial movements. They offer a natural workout for the foundational structures that support erections, bladder control, and ejaculatory function. As men age and lose pelvic tone, they become more susceptible to leakage, pain, ejaculatory weakness, or difficulties climaxing. But regular, complete stimulation keeps these crucial muscles engaged. It's essentially the male version of a Kegel routine, without stepping into a gym. Now let's discuss sleep. Ever notice the heavy-eyed, restful calm that follows climax? That's not a placebo effect. Prolactin, a hormone released in large quantities post-orgasm, tells your brain that it's time to rest. Couple that with decreased cortisol and a rise in oxytocin, and you create the perfect neurochemical engine for deep, restorative sleep. In fact, several studies have shown that orgasm may improve both sleep latency, how quickly you fall asleep, and the depth of sleep in older adults. That's particularly valuable at a time when sleep disturbances become more common. So let's step back. The benefits are real. Reduced prostate cancer risk, increased immune resilience, lower inflammation, elevated neurotransmitters, stronger pelvic musculature, better hormonal balance, and enhanced sleep quality. Now here's the uncomfortable part. Very few men are doing it correctly. Not intentionally, not because they're reckless, but because they were never told how to adapt their approach as the body changes with age. What worked for you at 25 doesn't translate seamlessly at 65, and continuing to apply the exact same technique without adjusting to the aging nervous, hormonal, and vascular systems can actually cause harm. Let's deal in facts. The pudendal nerve is the central line of sensation, blood flow regulation, and muscular activation in the genital area. If you're hunched forward on a hard chair for 10, 20, or even 30 minutes while stimulating yourself, you may be compressing this nerve repeatedly. Over time, this leads to pudendal neuralgia, a condition marked by numbness, tingling, even pain and erectile dysfunction resulting from chronic nerve impingement. This is completely preventable through improved posture and awareness. Then there's microtrauma, a topic few people mention. Repetitive high-pressure stimulation with no lubrication creates small tears, irritation, inflammation, and eventually desensitization. You may think your reduced sensitivity is simply aging, but oftentimes it is the result of overconditioning, your body becoming accustomed to only one very specific kind of stimulation at a very specific pressure. This leads directly into an even more modern concern: porn-induced neural conditioning. Setting aside moral debates, the neurological reality is this: your brain adapts to stimulation environments. When your primary source of arousal comes from high stimulus, high contrast, fast-cut visual content, it creates a sexual template that is increasingly difficult to replicate with a real, living human partner. It's called dopamine desensitization, and it leads to delayed ejaculation, performance anxiety, and even anorgasmia. The implications? Significant. What begins as a healthy act can evolve into postural injury, nerve dysfunction, desensitization, anxiety, and disconnection, all silently and progressively. Fortunately, all of it is modifiable with the right habits. Let me be very clear. Aging does not mean decline. It means adaptation. And now, let's talk about exactly how to adapt. First, change your position. Avoid seated positions that compress your perineum. Instead, try reclined or lying positions with proper lumbar and pelvic support. Protect your pudendal nerve like you would protect your spine. Second, use lubricant. Always. Aging skin becomes thinner. Friction injuries increase. Water-based or silicone-based lubricants reduce this mechanical stress and promote long-term sensitivity. Third, vary your technique and pace. Don't let your body rigidify into narrow response patterns. Change your grip, your speed, your rhythm. Train your brain for diversity, not restriction. Fourth, monitor your energy. If climax leaves you foggy, irritable, or unusually tired, back off. Balance is key. Harvard's 21 times per month is a helpful guideline, not a prescription. And if your erections are only functional during solo sessions and not with a partner, it's time for hormonal labs: testosterone, estradiol, DHT, prolactin, and PSA. Fifth, turn masturbation into a wellness check, not an escapism ritual. Check for lumps, observe changes in penile curvature, testicular tension, or skin appearance. Reflect on your emotional state. Are you present? Are you using this moment to connect or to avoid? Masturbation in later life is not trivial. It's not adolescent. It's not shameful. It's a portal to insight. And when done thoughtfully, it becomes a diagnostic, therapeutic, even spiritual part of holistic health. So to every man over 60 still engaging in solo touch, good. Now do it smarter. Lift the veil, remove the guilt, replace routine with awareness. Don't let silence dictate your sexual health. Use masturbation as a mirror, not a mask, as a tool, not a crutch, and above all, honor it as a practice of embodiment, vitality, and conscious aging. You now have the truth, the real science, the real risks, the real rewards. And with that, a question. What do you wish someone had told you 20 or 30 years ago? Let's change the conversation. Let's embody the evolution. Let's age with clarity, strength, and unapologetic intelligence. Subscribe for more evidence-based discussions that matter, and let us know what topic you'd like us to explore next. Because your health deserves more than silence. Now you've got the truth. What are you going to do with it?